Have a quorum present.
IT. All right. 1 second. Okay. 1 second, and we'll stand for the pledge. It will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item, please.
Invocation.
Okay, today we will have our invocation by Commissioner Anderson. Mr. Commissioner Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. I guess I should have modified my invocation for the weather that we all made it here safely. If you would bow your heads. Dear God, as we gather in this place, may you shower your blessings upon all who are present and prepare commissioners' hearts for the things that will be discussed. Lord, help us to be an example by the way we speak and act. Let everything we discuss here be in alignment with your word, and may we speak with humility when presenting our views. Lord, we live in a world that is troubled with unrest, starvation, war, injuries, and deaths of innocent people and children who are caught up in situations they are unable to escape. May your peace and love wash over this planet and bring a more harmonious world that resolves differences through peaceful means. Lord, we pray for your blessing and safekeeping of those who serve in our armed forces. Watch over our first responders who protect us all. Help us to admit our mistakes and be willing to act upon the solutions people give us. May your glory and peace also fill this meeting. In Jesus' name, we believe and pray. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that awesome prayer on this very snowy morning. We ask for safe travels for everyone who's coming and going from this building and their places of work and school. Thank you, Commissioner. Next item, please.
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Vice Chair Palomera.
Move approval.
Support. Moved and supported. Any discussion on the journal? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much. Next item.
Report from the chair.
Nothing today. Next item.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. We're moving to page 2 of the agenda, offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There are 2 items listed on the addenda. Item number 1 is a resolution by Commissioner Marecki honoring the Northville High School boys cross country team for its successful 2023 season.
Hey, Commissioner Marecki, you want to come up? We have a special guest with us today from Northville.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Bell and colleagues, for giving me some time during this meeting to recognize the Northville High School boys cross-country team for their tremendous 2023 season. You might think, didn't we just do this? Well, we did last year when they won the championship at that time. I am joined today by Northville's cross-country coach, Tim Dalton, and the 9 runners who made up the state finals team. And boys, will you stand when I call your name? We have seniors Brendan Herger, Nick Yaquinto, and Luke Schwartz. Juniors, Ethan Powell, Nick Barretto, and Ishan Kundapur. Sophomore, Ben Hardigan, and freshman, Brandon Cloud and Jack Lewis. This group of young men had another outstanding cross-country season. For the second year in a row, they took first place at the Kensington Lake Athletic Association's Division Conference and Regional Championships. Their seasons culminated at Michigan International Speedway when the Mustangs took first place at the Michigan High School Athletic Association Division I State Championship. This team is the second boys cross-country team to be state champions for Northville High School and only the third boys team from any sport to win a state champion. Coach Tim Dalton instills in these young men the importance of preparation, hard work, brotherhood, and a commitment to success. I am honored to be able to present the team with this resolution honoring their many achievements this season. Congratulations on being the MHSAA Division I state champs for the second year in a row, and thank you so much for joining us here today on this snowy day.
Congratulations to those awesome young men and especially to the coach. I know it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. I'm sure you keep up with your studies as well as your track accomplishments. So congratulations. And we look forward to seeing more great things from you all, especially the seniors. Congratulations as you complete high school and go on to greater things in college and beyond. So let's give these young people another round of applause. And thank you, Commissioner Marecki, for bringing them down. And again, an extra special thanks for coming down in this weather. So thank you and congratulations. Next item, Madam, I'm sorry, motion, I'm sorry. Motion, please, moved by Commissioner Marecki. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Haydus. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Item number 2 is a resolution by Commissioner Kenlock strongly urging the Michigan Legislature.
Commissioner Kenlock.
Move to refer this resolution to the Committee on Ways and Means.
Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Colleen. This item's being referred to Ways and Means. If we can have a vote on this matter. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much. Item's going to Ways and Means. Next item.
We're moving back to page 2 of the agenda, reports from committees. Report A is from the Committee on Public Services. There are 8 items listed on pages 2 through 5 of the agenda.
Okay, and to those who are on Zoom or in the audience, we work in committee. So these items have gone through committee and they're now here at full board for final disposition. Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the agenda for the Committee on Public Services and have Commissioner Haddis be the maker of the motion on number 4.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Kenlock. Any discussion on the Public Services report? Any discussion on any of the items on public services? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries. I have Commissioner Haddis as the maker of the motion on item number 4.
Next item.
We're on report B from the Committee on Ways and Means. There are 9 items listed on pages 5 through 7 of the agenda.
Commissioner Kenlock.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the report, the entire report. But in regards to item number 9, I know there's been a lot of questions as it relates to the SLARF dollars, and I'd like to ask if the Deputy Director for Deputy Finance Director, if he's online, Deputy CFO.
Good morning, Rob Whittigan, Chief Deputy Financial Officer, Wayne County. I am here to speak if you'd like, Commissioner Kenlock.
Please, on item number 9, yes, sir.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for your time today. And I do just want to start off by thanking the hard work of the M&B team, Allen Law Group, Ernst & Young, and Commission fiscal staff for their work in preparing and vetting this budget adjustment. Also on Zoom, besides myself, are representatives from Allen Law Group, Ernst & Young, and M&B to answer your questions. So I'll just give a bit of background and turn it back over to you, Madam Chair. In May of 2023, we were before you and presented a proposed budget amendment to the 2022-2023 appropriations in accordance with a budget amendment for the amount of $190.3 million. That budget adjustment served to recertify unspent funds from the SLURF grant award based on the projected budget that we had at that time. And if you recall, the goal of that was to safeguard our SLURF dollars be due to potential talk in Washington, D.C. of a clawback of any unobligated SLURF dollars at that time. So since May of 2023, we've worked with financial advisory and compliance firm, that's Ernst & Young, and a legal compliance firm, which is Allen Law Group, to validate eligible expenditures incurred as government services. And this was to ensure compliance with United States Department of Treasury rules that they have detailed under their final rules. So along with determining eligible government expenses and total project obligations under SLURF, the county performed an in-depth review of all available and eligible costs for the revenue replacement category of SLURF, which funds could be applied to. However, we had to wait for actual numbers in December. So once we received those, we began working on this budget adjustment before you with what I call the dream team. It was about 15 people between M&B, financial reporting, Ernst & Young, Allen Law Group, and Commission fiscal staff. And the process consisted of truing up the funds from what we received. That, if you recall, was $339.7 million. We trued those up to the budgeted numbers we had in May, which was the $190.3 million, to get a baseline. We then took the baseline and compared the budget to actual numbers for our true up, and that's where we are today. So the reconciliation revealed that actual amount of government surpluses for the provision of unspent SLURF dollars was $179.8 million. So we've gone through the budget, determined eligible expenditures and general fund, general purpose account using actuals for the unspent dollars. And we determining and consulting with the group and then also our auditors, Plant Moran, we determined the special capital projects fund, or Fund 499, would be the best place to create the funds or put the unobligated SLURF funds into. Just a couple items to know. Just recently, as November of 2023, the United States Treasury provided additional guidance on what it means to be obligated. So my point there is to say that even U.S. Treasury is constantly evaluating how these dollars are monitored, and the program is ever evolving. So again, we consulted with our auditors, Plant Moran. We did the work internally, finished the drafts of all relevant documents needed to book this entry. The contractors that I mentioned earlier performed a final review. We did a final review of all documents and expenditures to ensure compliance with Treasury rules. And in a nutshell, this was, a major undertaking in a few weeks, and what we're doing here is completing a one-off adjustment. The point is to benefit both sides, to make sure that this is done correctly, the budget adjustment's done correctly. We're complying with federal laws. And it's a massive federal grant, and we want to make sure that we minimize future fund or budget adjustments needed for this. And I'll end with this is M&B and the team performing our due diligence to protect the commission's projects, the CEO's projects for our communities. You know, and our process is to, you know, ensure that these dollars stay with the county, that they're protected and they're being used for commission approved projects to benefit the citizens of Wayne County. So that concludes my comments, and thank you for your time today.
Madam
Thank
Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Whittigan. Commissioner Kinlock?
I'd also like to note that our commission staff, our fiscal staff, as well as our auditor and our commission counsel worked very closely in regards to addressing the concerns associated with this. This is hopefully a one-time action that this commission will see associated with these dollars, and that in the future will be done in a timely fashion. So that concludes my report in the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Haydos. Commissioner Anderson, question?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask Mr. Whittigan, and then also ask our finance person, Mrs. Carr, if we approve this, how does it affect the remaining ARPA dollars that the state has for those projects that the locals have submitted plans for?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. So I'll try to do my best without causing any confusion. So if so, just stop me. But you know, you have your initial batch 1 and 2 of projects that the commission has approved. Those are still considered SLRF ARPA dollars. They're going through the process. We're constantly evaluating them. You know, Director Hassan's shop is continuing to monitor those for any adjustments that need to be made. These dollars are what was considered unobligated. They were SLRF dollars. They had not been commission approved towards any projects. So when I say unobligated, we had received the dollars, but in the United States Treasury's eyes, we had a timeline of what until December of 2026 to use them or obligate them. So what this does is it's an allowable category under SLRF, category 6.0, which allows for you to calculate your lost revenue during the pandemic and apply these dollars to those expenditures. It puts essentially, Commissioner Anderson, what we're doing is it turns these dollars from U.S. Treasury grant dollars into Wayne County dollars. And so now we're keeping the spirit of ARPA alive. These are still intended to go towards commission approved projects. However, it helps alleviate our reporting requirements in U.S. Treasury's eyes. They're Wayne County dollars, no longer Treasury dollars. And the timeline that I mentioned, you have to spend by 2026 is no longer a thing. We can work together on our timeline to make sure these still go towards, as I mentioned, the spirit of ARPA. But it's putting them basically in our hands versus being considered still grant dollars from the United States Treasury.
So once again, how does that impact the balance that we believed we had? I think wasn't it $190 million that we had left over?
I apologize. I see what you're asking. So, you know, the 190 was back in May was the data we had before. So just like when we do our normal annual budget for the commission, you know, M&B comes to you with what they believe, you know, snapshot of that time, the budget will be. As we went through and identified projects and eligible areas of expenditures, you know, the true up showed it to be 179. So you have $179.8 million that will be considered obligated in U.S. Treasury and remaining for commission approved projects.
Mrs. Carr, do you agree with what has been said about the balance?
To the chair, to the commission, I do, and I'm also going to defer to Terrence Adams since he's on the line.
Hello, Commissioners. Terrence Adams, Chief Fiscal Advisor, Wayne County Commission. In regards to the balance, that Mr. Whittaker stated, it's 179, quote unquote, ending fiscal year 22-23. But I want to remind the commissioners that during the budget for 23-24, there was 29 million that was budgeted to go to health veterans and human health HHS for various programs. So the balance is really about 150. And then the commission also approved about 13.5 million of these dollars for the RESA contract. So we're really only looking at about 140 so million dollars. That's really, quote unquote, maybe the true balance for a project. And Mr. Winick was correct by saying commission approved projects, meaning that the commission has to approve them, but it's not necessarily commission initiated projects. So I want to make sure that we understand the terms, that commission has to approve whatever projects are put forward, but they might not be commission initiated projects to spend the remaining balance.
Thank
I
you.
hope that answers your question, Commissioner.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rob, I don't even know if you know this. If these funds aren't obligated anymore, we've given another batch of funds to cities and townships. Are they still going to be on a timeline per the county on these projects? Like they were obligated?
Yes, Commissioner, that's correct. So, anything that was approved under batch 1 or batch 2, those are still SLRF dollars, and they are being constantly monitored by EDD. And Director Hassan is monitoring those to ensure, U.S. Treasury timelines are met. So let's just give a complete hypothetical. Under batch 1, you gave $1 million to a community, but they were likely going to miss the timeline of obligating the dollars according to U.S. Treasury. We would then have to have a discussion of how do we want to handle that. So there is a constant monitoring process by EDD to ensure that anything under SLRF or ARPA meets U.S. Treasury guidelines and is reported on a timely basis.
Right, I understand that. That was for batches 1 and 2, but then we had another batch come out. And are those funds, I think what you're saying now, that those funds aren't obligated for a timeline.
Correct. Yes. Anything that was approved under this section of dollars, the 179, would be considered as if Wayne County was giving their own dollars, and there's no U.S. Treasury guidelines.
Right, but are we still making these cities and townships adhere to a timeline like they were obligated? Maybe I'm making myself clear. Are they still going to be told, like, for instance,
Yes.
my city, Livonia, has been told a timeline. Well, but they're in like batch 3. Will they still be obligated through the county to follow that timeline, even though the monies aren't obligated anymore?
I hear what you're saying now, Commissioner, and possibly Director, if Director Hassan's in person, he might be the best, but I see what you're saying. Yes, there will still be a timeline. But it's a work together EDD commission to determine how we want that timeline to go. It would be.
Okay, as Terrence mentioned, these are administration initiated project, or they'll bring them to us. Part of that vetting process, from what I understand, is one, to make sure that they have the backfill funding to complete the project, and that there are going to be timelines associated with any of the projects that come out of Fund 499.
Great.
So there's still going to be timelines associated with any project when they recommend it to us. So we'll have all that detail, and that's part of why it's taken so long, because like I mentioned at our committee meeting, there are some of these projects where folks had stated that they had certain funding support, and those funding supports have not come through yet. So we definitely want them to continue to vet these projects so that they can be seen through completion.
Thank you.
that help, Commissioner
Yes,
Markey?
yes, thank you.
Okay, and because, this is an ongoing, issue, not issue, but ongoing situation with the spend of these dollars, we will have another, committee of the whole in the near future, for the next couple of weeks, not couple, but next 3 to 5 weeks to talk about this further, because we had a conversation back at the end of the year. We'll continue that conversation with EDC, with, the spend and the projects, and then what is on the horizon for these ARPA dollars. And answer some of those questions continuously, because it's the ongoing issue until we get them all spent. Okay. Any microphone, sir?
Thank you, Madam the Chair. Is the timeline we given the community, is that the federal timeline or it's county's set time to give us time in case money was not spent in one area to be able to move it where it's needed in different area?
I
Is
think,
there two timelines?
I think it's 2 timelines. If I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, as I understand it. The batch 1 and 2, because they were under the US Treasury, those are under the 2026 timeline. But anything with these dollars in item number 9, those are our dollars, so they're not necessarily under the US Treasury guidelines. So a little bit more flexibility with the funds under item number 9 than were in batch 1 and 2, which were under the US Treasury ARPA guidelines. Hopefully that kind of helps. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to recognize the auditor. Our auditor.
Oh, hello,
Our auditor.
our auditor. Hello, Madam Auditor.
Through the chair, I just wanted to mention, I mentioned it also at the committee meeting. While I understand the timeliness with my discussions with the external auditors, Plant Moran, because it wasn't completed by September 30th, 2023, it will still result in an audit finding.
Repeat that again, please,
It will result in an audit finding,
because it wasn't completed by,
September 30th, 2023, in accordance with Public Act 2.
thank you for that. So, and I'm sure Mr. Winnigan and his team is aware of that.
That's what we mentioned. The committee strongly mentioned this is the only time we're expecting to see this happen. Yeah.
Commissioner Khalid?
Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm trying to follow the bouncing ball here a little bit on these dollar amounts. In my squib, there's 2 numbers. There's 132 million, and I believe, and then the 179 million. Those 2 numbers together, was that the original grant or whatever that we got from the federal government, the SLRF dollars? Those 2 numbers together, 132 and 179, was that our original amount from the feds?
Correct. Your original amount was 339,789,370.
Okay, well, it doesn't exactly add to 339. Why the difference? Because this adds to 310 or something.
I'm going to quarterback this to Sean from Allen Law Group to explain.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Sean Farrell from the Allen Law Group. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So the 132 number, and I would need backup from finance, perhaps if Stacy, if you remember, let me know. But that was decertifying some revenue amount. That is not the other half of our award amount. That number would be, I believe, 156 million, somewhere around there. That's the batch 1, batch 2, all of the progress and funds that have been obligated under SLRF. This 179 is everything that was unobligated when we started this process of actually looking at the county's actuals. So those 2 numbers will come together. I know there was a lot of activity decertifying and doing budgetary moves to get this budget adjustment through. So I would need some help from finance on the 132.
Yeah, I can take over, Sean. And Commissioner, so your original number, it's 179,870,255 is what you're considering today. And the other half, or batch 1 and 2, I guess we should call it, is 159.9, and that comes to your 339.
A few months ago, we had taken that 179 and had parked it somewhere else. by a commission action in order to what we're discussing today, to preserve the dollars under the federal rules. And now we're taking a second action on that?
You are correct, Commissioner. So initially, it went to your approval, sent the dollars to assigned fund balance, right? And the thought was, for commission, for us to spend assigned fund balance, right, that has to come to commission for approval.
Yeah.
So that part will still remain the same. For us to spend these dollars, it will still require commission approval. But however, in talking internally and also with our auditor, the problem with placing these dollars in assigned fund balance is essentially the auditor at the end would make us roll this up into overall county fund balance. This keeps it in a special capital projects fund. These projects, most if not all, can be considered capital projects. It will stay there, it will remain there, won't get rolled up into any other funds. And then again, it will be commission approved. We'll bring the projects to commission.
Yeah, see, that's part of the paperwork here, because it states in my paperwork the amount of 179 that we're talking about, totaling zero in the newly created special capital projects fund. So how much money is going to be in the special capital projects fund?
It will be the full amount that we're
The 179?
Correct, sir.
And okay. But see, what I was trying to reconcile this to was we're certifying revenue in the amount of 370 million into the general fund. If we're moving 179 million into, I know what you're trying to do and I want to get us there. What's the 370 million then that's going to the general fund, certifying revenue there?
So the paperwork that you have before you is what it's doing is trying to, it's allocating these dollars into the special capital projects fund, but then we need to do that. We're identifying sources, eligible government services that the dollars can be applied for, right? So we're applying these to expenditures and moving equivalent to 179 into the capital projects fund, special capital projects fund.
So the relationship between that and the 370 million revenue in the amount of 370 million into the general fund, how is that related to the 179?
So essentially it's certification of revenue sources, and then decertifying in the amount to it's kind of it's certifying revenue sources in the 379 and decertifying revenue sources and uses in 132, and then certifying it into the special capital projects fund. Trying to
the 179
is
the 179 is in the 370.
Yeah, so we trued up the full total amount that the county received of the 300 million that we originally received, and then we compared it to what we brought to you before, made adjustments, which is where we got the 179.
So we're to make it a little bit more clear, we have the pot that we received from ARPA. We certified that. We used 159 of that. And then what's left, the 179, is what we're taking out of the ARPA and putting in the other fund so that we can have in our general fund to use unrestricted, if you will. So that's kind of the layman's overarching. The total pot minus what we spent equals what's left, and we're putting that so we can spend it outside of the Treasury guidelines.
And I'm still trying to, the 370 million that we're certifying, are we certifying that revenue as it states into the general fund? And then we're taking the 179 million out of there and moving it to special capital projects? Do I have the correct understanding of moving the
That's my,
cups around.
that's my understanding, correct, Mr. Whittigan?
Yes, what you just said
Yes.
sounds to be what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
I
well-
apologize for the confusion.
If this is what we have to do to protect the dollars, that's terrific. All right, those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions on the Ways and Means report? All right, hearing none, please vote.
Carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
We're on report C from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 3 items listed on pages 7 and 8 of the agenda.
Commissioner Scott?
Madam Chair, I'd like approval, on item number 1, receive and file, item 2 and 3, support for that, please.
Been moved. Receive and file item 1, 2, and 3 for approval. It's been moved by Commissioner Scott, supported by Commissioner Colleen. Discussion, Commissioner Kenizik?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to abstain on 1 and 2, please.
Duly noted. I would like Dr. El Sayed to come, please, and speak to item number 3, please.
Yes, good morning. Dr. Abdul El Sayed, Director Health Officer, Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. I know, considering everyone's knowledge of the news and circumstance, that I don't have to tell everybody that we are in the midst of an opioid epidemic. But for the COVID pandemic that fundamentally changed our lives for 3 years, this would be the public health challenge to which we would need to pay most attention. And to put the numbers in perspective, in 2021, nearly 1,000 people died of an opioid overdose. But it's not the same epidemic that we've been talking about for the past 2 decades. The nature of this challenge has changed with time, and it's changed because of the advent of a synthetic opioid called fentanyl. And what makes fentanyl so dangerous is that it can be produced synthetically, unlike traditional opioids, which have to be grown in a plant, which means that it drives down the cost of production. And then 2, it's 50 to 100 times more potent than traditional morphine. And because of that, the difference between a dose that someone might take that would have chemical activity in the brain versus a dose that could kill can be the difference of less than 1 milligram. And for that reason, the rate of fentanyl poisoning is exceedingly high. And then finally, because it is so cheap, there is incentive to use it to cut other forms of street drugs. We're seeing a lot more cocaine that is laced with fentanyl, certainly heroin that's laced with fentanyl, even marijuana that's laced with fentanyl. And because of what fentanyl can do, it is absolutely critical that the disease of substance use that too many suffer in our communities does not become a death sentence because of fentanyl. And so what we are proposing here today, pending this honorable body's approval, is an opportunity for us to be leaders across this country in making sure that people have access to naloxone, otherwise known as Narcan, which is a medication that can swiftly, fully overturn an opioid overdose, taking somebody from being on the cusp of death to being able to get up and walk around right afterwards. It really is pretty much as close as you get to a medical miracle. The challenge, however, is that too few people have it. Up until a few years ago, access to naloxone was limited to first responders, which meant that somebody was having an opioid overdose, you'd have to literally call 911. They would have to come in an EMS, and then EMS would have to administer naloxone. Now, I just want to remind you, the way that opioids kill is that they stop your midbrain from telling your lungs to take a breath. So what happens is you have profound hypoxia and then ultimately death. And so getting Narcan anywhere and everywhere is absolutely critical if we're serious about taking a chunk out of those 961 lives that were lost in 2021. And that is what this effort is proposing to do. We're proposing to partner with the regional expert on Narcan access, the Center for Behavioral Health and Justice at Wayne State University, obviously an organization we all know well here. And they've already rolled out 30 Narcan vending machines, and we're proposing to roll out 100 more. Now, the way these vending machines would work is that somebody could go to the vending machine. It would be completely free at the point of use. They could get Narcan. And we're asking that people do this because we fundamentally believe that the critical intervention here is that everyone and anyone has Narcan on them. It's like a first aid kit for one of our most deadly challenges that we're facing. And so this effort is about getting Narcan anywhere and everywhere. It is about making sure that folks have the opportunity to save a life if they see somebody who may be experiencing fentanyl poisoning. And doing so in a way that works in partnership with our local communities, being evidence-driven about where we know the burden of fentanyl poisoning is highest, and then working to make sure that we are really flooding the zone with as much fentanyl, with as much Narcan as possible to protect our communities from fentanyl. So that is the effort for us today. And I want to remind you that this would be the single biggest municipal investment in Narcan access in American history. And we'd be doing it right here in Wayne County. And it is, to me, the most logical and certainly the most apt first use of our opioid settlement dollars. And we feel like we can take a chunk out of fentanyl poisoning, we can save lives, and we have the opportunity to act and act fast.
Thank you, Doctor. Couple of questions. One is the timeline for having the machines out, and then the funding source for this deployment.
Yeah, so the funding source is a combination of predominantly opioid settlement dollars, as well as we just had a whole conversation about what we should post-ARPA dollars, we'll call them, to make this investment. And then we'll be working with the CBHJ. And as they say in the community, you want to move at the speed of trust. And so we don't want to be in a situation where anybody sees us as foisting vending machines upon them. And so what we're working with our colleagues at CBHJ to do is to analyze the numbers to understand where the burden of fentanyl poisoning and overdose deaths is highest. And then think through where these vending machines ought to be, and then work with local community groups, be they public governments, our cities and townships, or private organizations that are interested in supporting this effort to place these vending machines. And so, the procurement of the vending machines is a small part of it. It really is about building those relationships and making sure that we have everything we need to be able to access and refill the machines as needed. So the plan is to deploy within the next year, aiming to get most of these out through the summer.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, you just answered my question, but thank you for having the community meeting yesterday. My communities were on that call. I really appreciate them getting heads up on this type thing in a general sense, but my biggest concern is the vending machine placement and making sure that the leadership and the groups that the leadership have involved in this are part of the discussion on where these machines go, because that is my biggest concern. And I'm just curious, have you heard any feedback from first responders worrying about Narcan, like shortages of all these type of machines, or is that a pretty good flowing drug that's coming out?
Yeah, so let me step back and offer some context. 80% of the time when someone experiences an opioid overdose, they are in a home. And 40% of the time, someone else is there. And if you talk to first responders, as we prepared for this project, almost all of them there is a fear that they come onto the scene and they're too late. And so all of them feel like the next best approach beyond them carrying Narcan is that the community has access to Narcan, right? Because those 40% of folks who are right there in the home, if they have the Narcan they need and they understand how to use it, that's a life saved that doesn't have to wait for an EMS rig to come and hit the house after a 911 call, all of that. The supply of Narcan is steady, and we're working with the CBHJ will be working with the state of Michigan to assure that supply stays steady. And we've thought about, second and third options, but we're not concerned about, there being a run on Narcan because of this project. And, if anything, industry sees it as a really important opportunity to get their product out there because they designed the product to save lives.
Okay, and just one quick question. I know there's going to be an education component on this, but I kind of brought it up yesterday. If someone is on the street and gives someone is their first thing to do after that is to call 911? Okay.
Yeah, so all of this will be rolled out with a full communication strategy. It doesn't help if you don't know how to use it or don't know how to identify somebody who needs it. This project is being accompanied with a robust marketing strategy. And then certainly at the point of the vending machine, there's going to be a lot of education that folks can access, whether it's pamphlets themselves or a QR code that folks can go take a look at and watch a video about how to use these. What happens when you reverse an overdose is, usually, obviously you've just saved this person's life. But what tends to happen is they start to go into withdrawal, right? Because this is somebody who all of a sudden it's like you stripped their opioid from them. And the challenge is that if they're not tendered to and they can't get the treatment that they need, the risk of overdose following an overdose reversal is really high. And so it's really critical that folks understand that like this is not the end, it's the beginning. You don't just sort of pat them on the back and walk away, right? You need to make sure that those folks get to care. And so that's going to be part of the effort here.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome again, and I appreciate the effort here. Couple of questions. The projection, what's your projection on how long this amount of funding will last?
It's a 3-year agreement, and we intend to continue it forward. Opioid settlement dollars, the nature of this project is it's a high initial overhead, right? Because you have to procure the vending machines and place them. And then after that, it's maintenance. And so the cost of the project goes down with time. Opioid settlements, at least the way that we understand them, and it's a moving target, they're projected to continue, those dollars are projected to continue to come in for the next 18 years. So, obviously we'd have to enter into a renewal and this body would have to vote on that. But our intention is not to end the project after 3 years, but to be able to continue it going so long as we continue to see the kinds of challenges that we face.
I appreciate that. We're not getting right now any state or federal dollars. It's strictly the opioid settlement funds, right?
So it's combination opioid settlement funds and post-ARPA dollars, but predominantly opioid settlement funds. The nature, again, of the opioid settlement structure is that we had a couple of big boluses of funding, and then other funding from other agreements comes in later on. So what we're trying to do is structure the project so that it mirrors the structure of the funding coming in.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Commissioner Garza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was asked and answered, so I appreciate that. But to Dr. El-Sayed, just wanted to say just how glad I be able to see this in the county. This will undoubtedly save lives in our county, and I'm glad to see this, especially with the stigma around overdose in general. I think this is going to be a great thing, and I'm really glad to see us being a trailblazer in this county. So thank you.
Well, welcome aboard, and thank you. And just want to name check the incredible leadership of the county executive and the boldness of taking a step on this. As you all well know, there is unfortunately a stigma around this, and it has kept us from being able to save lives and get people to treatment. This is the first step of a longer walk around a more comprehensive opioid strategy, and that's in large part because of the vision and leadership of the county exec. So I really appreciate it.
Commissioner Haydes?
It's a great, anytime you spend money to save life, it's money. Program for 43 communities. Is any municipality require any financial support for that project, or it's done by?
The county will bear the full financial cost of the project. And
in training?
All of it. And we intend to work in partnership. We intend to place at least one and likely more in every single municipality in the county.
Because you mention the use of that product. Go to the fire station, learn about CPR.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. So as part of the project, we intend, we've budgeted for a mass marketing campaign. And part of that is teaching people how to identify an overdose, teaching people how to access Narcan, and then teaching people how to deploy Narcan and what comes next. And so it's a lot less complicated than CPR, right? Which requires you to understand how to do chest compressions, et cetera. And it's something that we feel, you have the opportunity to educate a public on if you make the investment. And this project includes that investment. The other part of it is, thankfully, there's just a lot more awareness of Narcan and how to use it in the community, particularly among people at higher risk. So, we want to continue to build on that. And the way we're thinking about it is this should be a part of every first aid kit. And this is the opportunity for someone, to save a life. And everybody really should just have some Narcan on them. You really never know when you might run into somebody in your beings and doings. And our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sheth, she carries it in her purse just because you really never know. And so our goal is to be able to get that kind of saturation. And part of that, as you know, is making sure people understand how to identify when to use it and how to use it safely and appropriately.
Using the product, sometimes person could misjudge somebody. Needed for the type of behavior.
No, so I could spritz Narcan right now and I'd be just fine. It only has impact in folks who are suffering opioid toxicity. So in that respect, there's no potential for abuse, and there's no potential for a negative consequence if you come upon someone and you say, this person could either be, have had a heart attack 5 minutes ago, or they could be overdosing and I don't really know. So let me just use the Narcan and then do chest compressions, right? And you could do both of those at the same time. In fact, EMS does that often. And there would be no negative consequence of the Narcan use.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kleen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just following the money here again, the initial 3.6 million, we talked about this in committee. That's going to come from American Recovery Act dollars?
A small proportion of it will. The majority of it will come from opioid settlement dollars.
Yeah. Now, the opioid settlement is over 18 years, I think, that we receive an allocation each year for 18. And how much is that?
So it's a moving target. We're estimating in the $60 million range. Part of the reason I say it's in
the what range?
$60 million.
A year?
No, $60 million total.
Okay.
And part of the reason I say that it is a moving target is that some of the companies that have had settlements awarded against them have claimed bankruptcy, and so it's not clear that you can bank on that money. The other point that I had tried to make earlier is that while this will, the money will come over 18 years, the bulk of the money will come in the first 4 or 5 years, right? Some are paying lump sum and some are paying over 18 years. So what will happen is you get a couple of really big boluses of opioid settlement dollars, followed by a consistent spritz of opioid settlement dollars over 18 years. And so we really want to front end, right, the high infrastructure types of projects like this one. And then over time, make sure that money over time becomes in effect a tail that can maintain the operations of a project that's already been built.
So you think the lawsuit dollars are going to be able to pay for this project at least over 18 years?
That's the plan.
Is the county involved in any other opioid lawsuits? I know there's a bunch of them out there. Are we involved in any other opioid case right now?
No.
No? This is it?
Well,
okay.
Yeah, there was a big omnibus case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They caught up everybody. Well, I think it's a terrific project. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on the Health and Human Services report? Thank you, Doctor, for the initiative, your discussion, very informative and educational for all of us. And we look forward to this save your lives. So
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
We appreciate you. Hearing no further discussion, please vote.
Motion carries, and I have Commissioner Kenizik as an abstention on items 1 and 2.
Thank you so much. Next item,
We're moving to Report D from the Committee on Audit. There is 1 item listed.
Commissioner Kenizik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move adoption of the report.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the audit report? Any discussion on the audit report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
All right, next item, please.
We're on Report E from the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. There are 3 items listed on pages 8 and 9 of the agenda.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we receive and file item number 1 and move approval of item 2 and 3.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Clark Coleman, supported by Commissioner Kinlock. Discussion, Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 2. Glad to see this coming to my neighborhood. Is this, well, a couple of things about this. What's going to be Black Family Development's role, other than a financial role that they will have for this grant? And I got a couple other questions too.
Good morning. Through the chair, Tony Guerrero, Chief of Legislation, Grants and Community Relations for the Prosecutor's Office. This is a subaward agreement. The role of Black Family Development is primarily to act as a conduit for the funds. This will pay for the salary and benefits of 1 prosecutor's office law intern through the grant that comes from the U.S. Department of Justice. This is primarily targeted at gun crime reduction, Project Safe Neighborhoods, and attempting to stem the problems that are running in the 9th precinct. There's no county match to these funds. Black Family Development works very well with us, and they in fact are handling the funds.
Yeah, they do a lot of community justice work on the east side. Was it Black Family Development that secured the grant?
Sorry, sir?
Was it Black Family Development that secured the grant?
No, the grant was secured by our office, and we had to do a subaward with Black Family Development.
And it's 1 year of funding, the grant? So it's 1 year funding?
We're hoping that this will be renewed year after year, but this is 1 year.
Yeah, okay, so that's the situation we're in. 1 year of funding and we hope we get it renewed.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, but what we're doing basically is extending through September of this year to the end of the 2024 fiscal year.
And then beyond that?
Then beyond that, we're hoping that it will be renewed, but I can't tell you that it is.
And then how are we going to evaluate this grant in this position in terms of outcomes?
Essentially, we're trying to keep track of statistics as far as how many gun crimes are, I don't want to use the term arrested, but in essence, how many arrests are made, how many guns are confiscated, and hopefully destroyed as they're supposed to be.
In your reporting, the prosecutor's reporting back to the commission, I'd like to get some data on this.
Happy to do so.
To see what the efficacy of these things are. Because over in the 9th precinct, we're in shot spotter heaven over there, baby. Look at about every 3rd telephone pole and you'll see one. The efficacy of this is what I'm interested in hearing back from the prosecutor.
The 9th precinct keeps our office pretty busy.
Yes, sir. Keeps the juvenile detention facility pretty busy as well. So thank you. Hope this has an impact.
I will make certain that we get you the statistics.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Anything further, Madam Chair?
I have a question from Commissioner Jesus, but I'm not sure if it's for you or not.
Madam Chair, You just mentioned is some of those can be destroyed. In Wayne County, those guns must be destroyed or
To the best of my knowledge, Commissioner, we're not experiencing the problem that they are in other parts of the country, where confiscated guns that are supposed to be destroyed are not in fact destroyed. They're stripped apart and the component parts of the guns are being sold, whereas I'm going to call it the body of the gun itself is destroyed. As I say, to the best of my knowledge, we're not running into that problem at all. That appears to be a problem in other states. Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman?
On item number 2, I think that Commissioner Kinlock would like to be the maker of the motion because that's in his district.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Anderson?
just wanted to ask the chair of the committee if she would allow me to be the maker of the motion on number 3.
Westland?
Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional questions on the public safety report? Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries. I have Commissioner Kinlock as the maker of the motion on item number 2 and Commissioner Anderson, maker of the motion, item number 3.
Thank you. Next item?
We are on report F from the Committee on Government Operations. There are 5 items listed on pages 9 and 10 of the agenda.
Commissioner Clemente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the agenda for approval.
It's been moved by Commissioner Clemente, supported by Commissioner Jesus, the Government Operations Report. The 5 items on that report, any discussion on any of the 5 items? Any discussion on the Government Operations Report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item?
We're on page 10 of the agenda, upcoming meetings.
Okay, please note the upcoming meetings. If there are any changes, please let the clerk know. Next item?
New business, there is none listed. We're moving to testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. There is 1 item listed.
Okay, move approval of the 1 item for testimony resolutions. Moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Marecki. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We're on memoriams. There are 4 names listed.
Okay, would anyone like to add any names to the memoriams at this time? Commissioner Jesus?
Thank you.
It is hilarious.
I like to
Better be.
add the name of Sikna Saad Baidoun. She's the wife of my uncle, passed away day before yesterday. She been married to my uncle for 63 years. They raised a family of 7 kids, whom they all live in Michigan, successfully all married and all doing well, due to a mother who really was on hand to raise her kids. Knowing my uncle, he was the push over with the kids. But that lady left a great impression on me and my family, how to raise a family. She'll be a mess. Thank you for allowing me.
So sorry for your loss. We'll keep you and your family in our prayers, Commissioner. Commissioner Kleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to add a name. We're going to get a resolution done, but I want to add the name of Pete Waldmeyer. Maybe some of you young kids don't know Pete, but Pete was forever at the Detroit News. Op-ed, actually at the Killeen household at dinner. Not our favorite columnist quite often. He was a resident as well as his son Pete Jr., who served on Grosse Pointe Farms Council, but a legend in the Detroit media. However you felt about that, he was a legend. So want to remember Pete today, and we'll do a resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and all of our names will be on that, I hope. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Knizik?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to add the name, and I'll make sure we get the spelling over here afterwards, but Monsignor James Maloney from St. Anselm Parish. Folks here on the commission may recognize that name because 2 invocations ago, Monsignor Maloney provided the invocation to us as one of my guests. And so he didn't join in person because he was unable to make it downtown, but he joined us on Zoom. He was ordained a priest in Detroit in 1956 and had been leading St. Anselm Parish since 1978, passed away recently at the age of 93. And so wanted to add him to our list today as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I'm glad he had an opportunity to provide us that invocation. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would ask Commissioner Knizik on this issue. I just attended a ceremony, remembrance ceremony for Inkster's senior director, longtime director. She had been that for 50 years. And prior to that, during high school, as a co-op student, she had worked with that department. And as I had represented Inkster previous to the changes in our districts, they reached out to me and I was there yesterday, but anyway, just to add her name, and her name is Denise Champagne. Longtime member on behalf of myself and Commissioner Knizik.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you so much. Any additional names? Hearing none, everyone please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Keep all of the family members in our prayers during this difficult time. Next item.
Public comments.
Is there anyone on Zoom for public comments? Anyone on Zoom for public comments?
On Zoom.
Anyone on the telephone? Okay, anyone in the audience wish to give public comments at this time? Anyone in the chambers would like to give public comments, come to the podium. You have 2 minutes. Any emails?
One email. Yeah. Dear Commissioners, please stand up against the Biden administration's efforts to cede U.S. sovereignty to the World Health Organization via amendments to the International Health Regulations and the Pandemic Preparedness Treaty. Please defund or restrict funding to any county departments that enforce World Health Organization edits. Please also stand against H.R. 3557 and H.R. 4141 in Congress, which seek to strip away state and local control in permitting cell tower placements and defund or restrict funding to county departments that enforce these bills should they become law. Remember, in Federalist 33, Alexander Hamilton wrote that lower level governments have the right to treat acts by the federal government that are not pursuant to the Constitution as acts of usurpation.
Just the one email?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Next item?
Reconsiderations.
There are none. Remarks by, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Remarks by members.
Remarks by members. Let me just publicly congratulate our fiscal advisor, Mr. Terrence Adams, on the birth of his baby girl, Taryn, January 10th, 6 pounds, 15 ounces. So congratulations, Terrence. You're now a girl dad to go with your son. And I would look forward to you getting some sleep and getting back with us when you get a chance. Congratulations, Terrence.
Thank you, Madam.
And tell your wife, of course, the biggest congratulations, and take care of her during these precious few weeks with the baby girl. Any remarks by members? Ooh, snow got you all quiet today. Remarks by members? Okay, well, I will say that our next meeting will be on February 1st. And on that day, we will have our Black History Month celebration. It'll be coordinated by Commissioner Irma Clark Coleman. So we look forward to a wonderful celebration for Black History Month and a Black History Month luncheon afterwards. Again, remarks by members? Hearing none. Oh, Commissioner Scott, do we have one?
Thank you,
Commissioner Scott.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would just like my colleagues to know she used to work here for a while. My granddaughter, Christina Tice, she graduated last night as a registered nurse.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
We need more nurses, so congratulations. And she has the field wide open of her choice of employers. So
Yes. And
congratulations
it was
to
a
her.
large graduating group last night.
Oh,
too.
I love it. We
Yes.
need nurses, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
One more time for remarks by members. Next item.
Adjournment.
So
Go
moved.
Lions. Move
Okay.
to
Oh,
adjourn.
Go Lions. Yes, absolutely.